Now, everyone, it's time to spread a bit of movie cheer.
Welcome to the Movie Cheer Podcast, the show for movie fans. I am your host, AP, aka Mr. Movie Cheer, and on today's edition of the Movie Cheer Pod, I will be discussing the 1998 Disney animated movie Mulan. That is correct, ladies and gents, and I will be ranking it, trying to rank it amongst all of the other Disney movies, just kind of giving it my full opinion whether this is a good Disney movie or a mediocre Disney movie ranked amongst the rest of the Disney classics. So that'll be today's headline topic, ladies and gents. But before we get into today's headline topic, as always, I like to start this show off with a segment called Not So Worthy Blockbuster Housekeeping. This is the part of the show where I discuss what's going on with the channel, what's going on with the Movie Cheer Town community, and it's just a general easing chit-chat for the rest of the show. So, not so worthy blockbuster housekeeping for this week. What has been going on in Movie Cheer Town, ladies and gents? Well, first of all, I'm going to discuss what is going on in this coming week. Recording this on the Sunday, I didn't manage to get the show out as usual on Saturday. I do apologise about that as well. But yeah, it's out today on Sunday. But into the new week now. This Tuesday, on the 22nd of November. I'm trying to think what month it is now. 2022. If you're watching this in the future, maybe you're going to be looking back in the past. But yeah, I will be on a different channel, repping Movie Cheer Town. I'll be on Video Tasties channel, and that is run by Gareth, the very kind gentleman Gareth, and he does these awesome movie watch-alongs on his channel, and he does really good videos on like showing his like VHS collection as well. He's got an amazing VHS collection. I've been on Gareth's channel before, and last time I was on, we watched the what film we watched? Moonraker. Got it to the right of me down here. I've still got the DVD out. We watched Moonraker, but I am going to be joining Gareth for a movie watch-along of the movie Kingpin. That is the comedy movie Kingpin, which stars Woody Harrelson. And yeah, big fan of that movie, so I'm really looking forward to doing that on Tuesday with Gareth. So that'll be fun if you're free, and I think it starts like 7:30. If you're free on Tuesday evening, do pop along to Gareth's channel as well. I'll pump it out on the social media channels nearer the time now as well. What else is going on in Movie Cheer Town? Well, Christmas is coming up. We're not too far away from December now. Every 3 months on the channel, as you know, we do a pay-per-view show every 3 months. This is a show where usually it's a live show. Over the past year, I've featured different special guest co-hosts on the show, and it's been amazing. And yeah, I think the Christmas show is probably going to be a similar kind of vibe. To be honest, I've not contacted anyone at this moment to make a plan. I've not planned like a theme for it, but I imagine it's going to be some sort of Christmas theme for the Christmas show. But I just wanted to throw out there that there will be something in December, a pay-per-view show. So I'm looking forward to that, doing something. And I'm sure, again, nearer the time, I have a few more details because it's not far away. It's probably going to be a few weeks off. I'll get a date pending, and I'll let you know probably next week or something for the Christmas show. But looking forward to that, the Christmas pay-per-view. We'll get a cool name as always and go for that. Latest video this past week. You know what? I can't even remember what the latest video was. Hang on, I do know what it was. It was, I just thought, this is behind the scenes here for the podcast. I usually just write late. Well, I'd done this yesterday because I was planning out to record it. No, I planned it out for the Friday night, and I wrote down just the plan of the show, bullet points, latest video in Not So Worthy Blockbuster Housekeeping. But I usually write what the video is, and I've just not wrote the video down. And do you know when you have to use your memory sometimes, and you're just I'm just at a blank. I got this the other day when I was shooting that video where I mentioned Empire Strikes Back, and I mentioned the Cloud City, and for some reason I thought there was a name to it, the city, but it was just called the Cloud City. But I do get that a lot where I just go an absolute blank, and on videos where I forget names and stuff like that. But I never edit it out. I just think, you know what? throw it in there. I know I'm going to forget stuff. I know I'm going to trip over my words, but who cares? But yeah, I didn't write in latest video what it was. But you know what? The memory worked then, so we're good. It was a movie variant showdown on the Star Wars t-shirt, and I was looking at a few different Star Wars t-shirts. Movie variant showdown obviously was a segment on the podcast shows, and now it's been taken over by Case Cover Collision, which I'm really enjoying. But I've been doing a few on Patreon as well, and I've been I want to do some on the normal channel as well, on the actual YouTube channel, because I like doing them segments. I think they're really fun, and I think it adds another little flavour to the channel in a way as well. So I really enjoyed doing that. So yeah, that was the video for this past week. What else has been going on? Well, Patreon coming up this Monday. There is a Patreon video coming out, which I'm really pleased. It's going to be a mini movie room tour, and it's just I do little segments of the movie room. So I'm going to be sharing the new artwork, the signatures I've shown on the channel, just where I put them in the movie room, and just giving you a bit of context to why I put them in certain areas and stuff. And it was a fun little video to film as well. So that's coming up on this Monday, tomorrow, that is, if you're watching it on Sunday today. So yeah, that's it for Not So Worthy Blockbuster Housekeeping for this week. Let's move on to today's headline topic.
The Movie Cheer Podcast presents the headline topic for the episode.
Remember to spread a bit of
Headline topic. Headline topic.
Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer.
So today's headline topic, Mulan, the 1998 version of Mulan, the animated version, not the live action version. We will get to that. In today's discussion. But where does this movie rank among other Disney animated movies? Is it a classic Disney movie? Is it a mediocre Disney movie? I want to really get into this and give you my honest opinion of this movie today on the show. So let's just talk about the movie in brief. Yeah, this was released in 1998, this movie, a Disney release, Disney animated movie. It's got like the class. I wouldn't say like. I define it as like a classic animated style. It's like kind of like I was reading into this. It's not like I think some of the characters were hand drawn, but a lot of it was obviously CG animated. But it's not like your Toy Story Pixar animation. This is kind of like more of like your 2D. Aladdin, Lion King style animation. So it's got that kind of like, I always define it as like a classic Disney animation look for me. Obviously not like 101 Dalmatians. That's again, them and like the Bambi and stuff like that. They're like a more hand-drawn, aren't they? But this is very much in that similar style to it. But this 1998 release, it is Mulan. It stars Ming-Na Wen, Eddie Murphy, B.D. Wong, Miguel Ferreira. I know I'm going to butcher a bunch of these names, so I do apologise in advance. I mean, this movie, what's the plot of the movie? The plot of the movie is this. Basically, it's set in China, and you have this evil group called the Huns. They at the start of the movie, they invade China, and then basically the Emperor of China gets his armies to go around all of the local villages of China to get all of the men of the families. And this is based like centuries ago. So this is in past time. So centuries ago, and they get all the soldiers to go around different villages to recruit one male from each family. So Mulan is a female character, and she's the main character of this story. And basically, she is at the start of the movie, she's sort of like going to they're trying to find a husband for her and stuff like that, and she doesn't want to do that. She's not into that. She just doesn't want to. She's happy being heard, you know what I mean? And basically, they go around the villages. They get to her village, and her father he's an honor guy. He's all about honor. He's like this ex-soldier, but he's obviously wounded. His legs are wounded from previous battles from years ago, and he's obviously a decorated soldier as well. But he is recruited by the army, and it's like the next day, you've got to go the next day and report to this camp. And basically then she decides to take her father's sword and his armor and dress put her hair up, basically, hers down, and she puts it up into this bobble on top of her head, and she pretends to be a woman. It's not she is a woman. She pretends to be a man, and she goes in her father's place. And then her mother and father decide not to say anything because they feel like if they find out that she is pretending to be a man in this army for this great war, they will kill her. And that's why her parents say nothing. So Mulan then goes in her father's place, pretends that she is the son of her father, and she calls herself Ping, I think, in this movie. And then we see her become like this heroic warrior and stuff like this. And then, spoilers ahead for the movie, but she goes on and she ends up defeating the leader of this evil army, the Huns. She defeats him. She gains the respect of all her army men, and it is revealed throughout the story that she is actually a woman throughout the story. And there's like a little love story in there with one of the soldiers who trains her as well. But she, it's a movie about honor and respect. And by the end of this movie, she is revealed that she is a woman, but she gets the respect from the Emperor of China, from all the fellow soldiers, and most importantly from her father. She gets the respect as well. And I think that's the most important thing here. So that's a story in a nutshell, really. Nutshell stories. That's what you call it. Nutshell. This is what I'm going to have to rename it. Nutshell. What's the nutshell of the story? Nutshell editions. So that is a nutshell of the story. What is my honest opinion of this movie? First of all, I will say this was a first time watch for me. I don't know whether maybe I've seen bits of this movie in the past, but for me it was like a first time watch. I couldn't remember ever watching this one. I've watched the remake. I've watched the live action remake. It came out, what was it, like 2020? I think it came out, that maybe. I enjoyed the live action one, but I'd never seen the original first. So, but honest opinion, yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. You got Eddie Murphy in the. This is a fun movie. This is a fun family movie, but it's also got like I said, the whole thing with the honor and the respect. And there's some like moments where you're like, they're trying to get like serious points, and like serious sort of stories with this honor and respect story in there. It's like this is a real story in a way. It feels like they're trying to tell a real human story. But then you've got like Eddie Murphy plays this like small little dragon character who's sent by. Well, he's like one of the ancestors, and he goes to protect Mulan to complete this mission, because if she does this and she sort of like survives and gets the honor and respect, she defeats the enemy, he will go back to the ancestors, the great ancestors of the family, and become like a force ghost, basically. But he's like this comedy relief Eddie Murphy. It's basically the same character. For me, it's just Donkey from Shrek in there. It's basically Donkey in animated form, but he adds a lot of comedy relief, and he's kind of like the guide for Mulan and helping her throughout the story, and just a little sidekick along the story, which adds a few good comedy moments as well. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think for me, there's some great, like, I wouldn't say it's a full-on musical, this movie, but there's definitely some great music in it. There's a few musical numbers in it, rather than if I remember quite rightly, the live-action remake didn't have them musical numbers. I think they did feature some of the songs, but they didn't have, like, the singing in them as much, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it was a really good watch. I think the animation is really good, a really good animation, and I like the story as well. I like the story of this female character who is kind of like in a time where it's more like male centric, and it's it's forbidden for the females have this role, but she breaks free of that. I love that. I think it's ace. I think it's ace, and then she becomes a soldier. I kind of think it's a bit unbelievable that like they wouldn't notice it, and I thought this in the film in a way. It's like, surely you'd notice it was a female, but maybe not. It's maybe that's me being too picky and too harsh with criticism. But overall, I think the story's really good, and it's a fairly easy story to follow. You know what I mean? It's not like a hard concept story. The story is she's going into this army base. She's pretending to be a male soldier. She gets revealed, but then she still, even after being revealed, she decides to help her fellow soldiers, because she realizes they're going to get attacked by Huns. They're going into a trap, and she comes to save them, saves the day, and defeats the evil boss, the end of the level boss, and I think it's a great story. So I really enjoyed it. I think there's some really good scenes, some really good music, and I like the characters in there. I think there's some really fun characters, and I think Mulan's a really good character as well. And with the sidekick, the comedy relief of Eddie Mercury, Eddie. I was going to say Eddie Mercury, or like a hybrid of Freddie Mercury and Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy's character of Mushu the dragon is just a delight to watch on screen, and that was a character that was missing from the live action one. And I remember reading stuff at the time saying the fact that character was like missed. It was a big miss in that movie. But I felt like it was like totally different. And like I said, I'm going to get into that a bit more in a second, the remake. But favorite moments of the movie, I think. One part of this movie really stood out to me. The part when they're on this like big mountain, and this is the Huns are like basically the Mulan and the rest of the soldiers she's part of. They're at the bottom of this mountain, and then you see the Huns just come at the top of the mountain. It reminds me of Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. That last scene where you see like Gandalf the White and he comes storming down. It's kind of like a very similar shot to that. I feel like they were like, if you compared them side to side, they'd look very similar shots. But you see them on the top of this snowy mountain, all like they're all on horses and stuff like that. They're all coming down, and they sort of like just peer over at first, and you see them. And it was such a great shot for an animated movie, and I thought, wow, this is a brilliant shot, because it kind of like I said, there's the musical numbers, there's comedy parts, and then this is where it adds like that seriousness to it. It's like, oh wow, this is like a real battle scene in an animated Disney movie, and you see them all coming down, and they're shooting arrows, they're shooting these fireworks, and then what Mulan does, she grabs one of these like big fireworks that are kind of like cannons, and she grabs it from her general, and she runs off with it, and then she shoots it, and they think she's just like made a really bad shot, but she shoots for the top of this big like snow cliff. And then the snow cliff just starts this big avalanche, and you see the avalanche just come down on these armies, but they're on like this cliff top anyway, and there's like at the end of the cliff sort of moment where they're running towards the end of the cliff, can they survive? And then you see this big snow avalanche coming down, and Mulan and the rest of the characters all get caught in it. All the other soldiers, her general gets knocked down in the process. Then she jumps on her horse and she saves him. And it's just a really great scene. I just thought that the way it starts off was the significant part for me. That shot when they're just peeping over that cliff, over the top of the hill, and you see the armies and you think, wow, they're just done. They're done for right now. And then it turns out, Mulan, strategically, she knows what she's doing. She is a master of war, but like at this point you feel like she's like the master strategist of war. She's got it sorted out. I'd want her on my army if I was going to war with anyone in ancient times. Well, yeah, that was one of my favorite moments in the movie. But I think early on as well, there's a few good singles. Like I think the very first moment, I've actually got it wrote down here because I've wrote down a few musical numbers which I really liked in this story. So there's a few at the start of the movie which I really enjoyed. And what was it? It was the Reflection song. So it's called Reflection, and this is early on in the movie. And I thought it was a really good song. I'm not going to sing it because I'd absolutely butcher the song, but I was, like I said, it was one where I thought there's some really nice musical numbers, and it's not, again, it wasn't for me like this is a musical film. It just felt there was a few decent musical numbers amongst a good story in here in this movie overall. Now I want to get on to this movie overall with the rest of Disney movies. So like the 90s, this was 98. This era in general was a bit of a renaissance era of Disney. It was an era where Disney had a bit of a revival in a way. We'll call it a revival era. And I talk about revival because you start this off with, you've got, let's say, look at the dates here. So we had like Disney was big in like the 50s. That's where you had your Sleeping Beauty, your 100 Dalmatians in the 60s, early 60s, sort of stuff. All of them classic Disney movies, Jungle Book. Then you get to like the 80s, it was kind of like, wasn't great. 70s was a bit of hit and miss, really. But then you get to the 90s, where we have Aladdin, we have The Lion King 94, Aladdin 92, Beauty and the Beast 91. Then Mulan comes at the end of this era. So I feel like the 90s as a whole, Disney was early 90s, that's where it hit. And I think when it got to like the mid 90s, then Disney changes massively, and animated movies as a whole change massively. So mid 90s, you get Disney's Toy Story. Obviously, Toy Story was a Pixar Disney release. You get that in 1995. Mulan, then after that, you get like these sort of movies. The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan. Mulan was in the midst of that. It came out just before A Bug's Life as well. What I'm talking about here is that you're having this big change in animation to this computer-generated style of like the Toy Story animated style. And for me, growing up in that era, I'll be honest with you, at this point now, I'm all in on like the Toy Story style of animation. I'm kind of like, I love like Lion King, and I still would watch Lion King, but anything that came around that after that point then, after Toy Story, and if it went back to that sort of like more Mulan style of animation, Lion King animation, for me, I couldn't get into it as a kid. Now, obviously as an adult, I feel differently now. I can enjoy it a bit more, but at the time, I felt like this was a bit of a like, it would have been better if it was in the style of Toy Story. That's honestly the way I felt as a kid, growing up and watching this. And I think this is why I probably missed it as a kid. This one, missed it growing up, and didn't watch this and didn't really have this as a beloved movie for me. And I know a lot of people probably do like this and have it as a beloved movie, but it was similar to like ones like Tarzan, Hercules, them Disney releases. Again, same that more like sort of cartoony animated style over the Bug's Life, the Toy Stories. And I think for me, that's probably what put me off it as growing up. I think if this was in a different animated style, I probably would have enjoyed it more when it came out initially. So for me, I think it really, when it ranks amongst Disney movies, I think it's a good movie now, looking back on it. I think it's a great movie. And I think, does it stand up to an Aladdin or a Lion King for me? No, it doesn't. I think for me, they are the top tier Disney, especially if we're talking about the 90s era. I think out of the 90s, Disney movies, Lion King, Aladdin. Lion King was top for me, Aladdin close second. And then you put in like Toy Story amongst that Disney mix as well. That's definitely up there as well. It's really, I'd say it was like maybe fifth or sixth there. But I think it is like, because I haven't got that nostalgia to this movie, and I think if it was a different animated style, maybe at the time I'd have different feelings, and now watching it, I'd probably have more nostalgia for it as well. It's a bit of a weird one, but like I said, I think that is just the way I felt. Let me know what you think about that at the time. Did you feel like then that's when it went to back and forth with them, like you'd have a Toy Story release and then you'd have a cartoony animation release? What did you think of it at the time? Did you think, like, what was your preference? Did you feel like you could go back into, or did you feel like this is like moved forward? That's what I felt like. It wasn't like I was like just ignorant. I disliked it. I just felt like filmmaking had moved forward. It would move the step forward. And for me, I was all in on this new sort of style. And yeah, looking back now, I do enjoy it now, watching it. But like I said, I don't have that nostalgia for that movie to make it a big 90s movie. But I do like the movie. I honestly do like the movie. But let's talk about this compared to the remake, the live action remake and the original one. What I would say, it's the same story, but it's a different route to get to the end. Because like I said, there's like changes in, it's not so much a musical. There's not as musical numbers in there. It's a bit more serious tone in the remake. I feel like they're trying to do a bit more of a serious tone, and there's like less comedy in there. Obviously, again, you have got Mushu, played by Eddie Murphy's character in there. And I watched the live action remake first. And I did this with the Aladdin movie. I watched the live action remake first, and then I watched the original because I never watched the original as a kid. But which one do I prefer? That is a hard one, you know. I think I'd have to rewatch it again, but I think that very close, these movies. I think maybe slightly I'd go for the, maybe I'm going to get pitchforks thrown at me here, but I think I probably would go for the live action remake. I don't know, something about that I did really enjoy. I really enjoyed the live action remake, and at the time, I remember hearing like really bad reviews at the time, and I thought, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was decent. I'd have to watch them again back to back, and maybe I'd change it. I always say with movies, movie opinions, you always flip flop. I flip flop, continuously. But yeah, I think the live action remake's slightly over this one. I would have to watch them again. But yeah, but overall though, Mulan, I think it's a great movie of the 90s. Even though my opinion is it's not the best of the 90s, I think it's a great Disney animated movie. And I think looking back on it now, I can appreciate it more as a movie fan overall. I think it's a good movie watch. I think if you've never watched this movie as well, and maybe if you had mixed feelings about the live action remake, definitely give this one a go because it's well worth checking out. It's a fun movie. It's like I said, different route, different feel to the live action remake if you didn't enjoy that one. And you might get a different experience, a different movie watching experience, an enjoyable movie watching experience for you as a movie fan. But anyway, that is it for today's headline topic. Let's move on with the rest of the show.
Case covers take on other case covers. Can you handle that?
Case cover collision. Case cover collision.
Case cover collision. Each and every week I choose a different movie and look at the different case covers of that movie and put them up against each other to find out which is the best on Case Cover Collision. And this week on Case Cover Collision I will be looking at the movie Pulp Fiction, a movie I really, really do enjoy. Quentin Tarantino movie. I think this one is probably my favourite Tarantino movie, I'll be honest with you, Pulp Fiction. I absolutely love this movie. I love the non-linear storytelling to this movie, the way the movie is edited in a way that, like, certain parts of the story at the beginning, some of the parts at the ending, it's just all mixed, and it's got a great cast. Bruce Willis, Uma Thurman, Samuel Jackson, John Travolta, to name but a few of this cast. Great cast, great movie overall, and it's just, one I didn't watch, obviously. I've said this before. I don't think I've watched this growing up. I've watched it more as an adult, this movie. But I remember in like the video shops as a kid seeing the shot of Uma Thurman, her character in this movie. That very famous shot of her like lying on the bed with a smoke. And I always remember that in the video shop. It must have been like in on posters or just on the actual the VHSs. I'm sure there was like posters and stuff when this movie came out, and yeah, I always remember that. It was just very significant memory in the brain. But anyway, I've got 4 different case covers I'm going to look at, and I will say I'm discussing this today because there's a new release, a 4K release of this on the 5th of December, and I will drop in the links for the 4K releases below, Amazon affiliate links. If you do want to check them out, if you purchase through them links, a small portion of the sale does go to supporting the channel, so all of your support is greatly appreciated. But let's get into this. We've got 2 DVD releases and 2 4K releases. Let's look at this. So first of all, we're going to start off with one of the DVD releases, and this is one I believe this is the one I've got in my collection here behind me, or a very, very similar variation to this one. This is like the OG of Pulp Fiction covers. So you've got Uma Thurman's character here. Again, this is the shot I was talking about. Lying on the bed, and she's, lying, she's smoking, she's, a very big part of the movie, I would say, this character in this movie. So you got her character there on this bed looking up, and it really very artsy look to his character. Looks like a classic like 1950s image. The way the photo has been taken, the lighting in this shot, and then above her you've got like this. It's like a red box, and above her, and you've got like the text of Pulp Fiction in this yellow color text, really bold. Not bold like me. This very bold font, and Pulp Fiction is in this yellow, and I really love the colour, the yellow, then with the red backdrop, really eye-catching and really noticeable to the eye if you're going down a movie aisle. Then you've got above that in a black text, a smaller text, a Quentin Tarantino movie, and then above that you've got all of the cast members and then in gold, a gold streaker across the top saying 7 Oscar nominations, which I'm not surprised because this is a really good movie. But yeah, I love this shot, and you're looking back to the image as well, this shot. You're seeing, like, there's, like, black bits at the side, and it sort of, like, goes inwards then. It sort of, like, has that fade as well, and I think it's just a very artsy shot of Uma Thurman, which I really like, and then the noticeable, the colours and the font of the of Pulp Fiction, the title text at the top of the screen, I really like that as well. I think it's a really good mix and a really good overall case cover. I think this is just a classic case cover for me personally. I think it's brilliant. It's just such a significant shot. I think it's just, like I said, I think if you have the memories of going to the VHS shops growing up, you remember like seeing this, I always thought, for one, I never knew what this movie was about, but I heard it mentioned a lot, and I thought this is just. I just remember this shot, and I think it's just so iconic of a poster. So yeah, I love this cover. Absolutely love it. Next, I'm going to move on to another DVD case cover now, and again, this is the same shot, but this time it's kind of like cut out, so she's not actually lying on the bed. It's a black background. This one, a black background completely. The same shot, but it's kind of reversed the shot, so she's like sitting like a different way. It's kind of a bit weird to look at because it looks like it's been reversed, and do you know when they reverse a shot and you kind of like, you'll look like it just looks a bit off, and it kind of looks a bit off this, even though I like the style of what they're going for. It's not awful, but I think it just looks like it's just been reversed. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it is a complete shot, maybe I'm just overthinking this, but it's a black background. We've got, again, the yellow colour of Pulp Fiction at the top, big text, same style font again, and then you've got like this red streak behind the font and behind Uma Thurman's character at the top, kind of like ripping out the sort of like the image slightly, and this like sort of like tear in the image, which I really like. And then below that, in a yellow, very small yellow font, yellow text, we have all the cast members again. And if you see here, the amount of cast members who are involved in this movie is a big cast. This movie, great cast, and you see all that cast there. But I do like this one. I think it's very taking an iconic shot again, which is great, and I do like it. And I think it's a different variation to the first cover. I think they went for something different in the sense they haven't put the imaging completely. They've went for more of like just like go for blank colours, like a black colour background and with a bit of red and a bit of yellow. The colour scheme again is black, red and yellow. That is the scheme of colours here for this. But I gotta be honest, I do prefer the first one. I just think it just pops a bit more. I think it's a bit brighter, a bit more vibrant, a bit colourful. It makes me more intrigued about that movie. The first shot, personally, the first case cover. So far, I'm going to go with case cover 1. I think the first DVD case cover is the best so far. Now we move on to one of the 4K. So this is the 4K Ultra Pulp Fiction Blu-ray release, and this is, you get a 4K Ultra HD disc and plus the Blu-ray included. So this is a very different release, a very different cover style-wise again, and I like this. I like variation. It's nice. So basically, this one is taking the very first image and went black and white with it. They've went black and white, apart from Uma Thurman's lips are in red. Kind of a bit like, what's the film? I'm trying to think of the film now. That comic book film that was, oh man, my brain's going. This is what I'm talking. I talked about this earlier on the show, where my brain goes blank. It'll probably come back to me at like the end of it. But it's, I love that image where it's black and white, and then it's like the red lips. I think it's just really a nice little touch to it, and you see on the fingernails as well, the sort of like the nail varnish is in red as well, and that's a nice little touch because instead of the yellow text colour of Pulp Fiction, it's the same font again, a bit smaller this time, the font on it, but it is in a red colour, which is then going to the lips, the red lips. And I just think it's a nice little touch. They went here, it is just black and white and red. No yellow in sight in this one. And this looks like it's like an old time movie. You know, this is like a movie from the past. This is like a 1940s, 1950s. Like, it looks to me like this would be a case cover for Casablanca. This sort of like that sort of like style of movie. I really like it. Like a black and white classic movie. I love that. And then you've got above that, you've got the Tarantino movie. This is a Tarantino film in white, small font, small text, and then you've got all the cast members above that again. Yeah, I do think it's a nice touch, a nice little spin on the original. But what is better so far? Gotta be honest, I do like this one, but which one is better? I've got to go with the OG still. The OG, as much as that is a close second. That black and white one is a close second for me. That one, but I've got to go with the original still. The first DVD case cover so far still is my favourite. Now let's move on to the fourth and final case cover we're going to look at today. And this is the limited edition steelbook release of this on 4K, and it includes the Blu-ray as well again. And this one features, so first of all, it is, you know, we've got here Uma Thurman's character in this case cover again. We're going back to that colour scheme of the yellow, the red in here again. Not so much black, I suppose, black in the colours of the character's clothing, but you've got Uma Thurman's character and John Travolta's character in that iconic scene of when they're doing the dance number. And it's them two dancing. It's like a long shot out, so you see them sort of like their full bodies dancing in the middle of the photo, and they're sort of like dancing on, I don't know if that's actually the dance floor or it's like an RPM sort of wheel, a timer of RPM, so, you know, like a timer. I think that maybe is like significant to the actual, the place they're dancing in the movie. I'd have to double check. I don't think that is on the floor though, that I think it's just significant to the dance moment of the movie. But yeah, then it's into like a red background behind that as well. Bright red background, a Quentin Tarantino movie below the text of Pulp Fiction this time. Pulp Fiction in, like I said, not a very big text like the first case cover, but very, very jumps out at you again, very pops with you, this Pulp Fiction in yellow colour, and above that, all of the cast members again. I like this case cover. I think it's great. I think it's a different, what they've done, they went out the way to do something different for it, because they could have easily just, again, went for that, you know, the Uma Thurman image again. They went for something different here, which I do like. And I like with Steelbooks, they do try and do something different. They've tried to do something different. I don't think it's amazing, though. I don't think it's an iconic moment in the movie, but I don't think it's, I don't know, it just doesn't really make me think this is the best cover they could have potentially done. I think that, you know, I don't know, maybe, I think maybe for me, I would have had Travolta and Samuel Jackson's characters in this for something totally different. Have them on the case cover, I think that would have been a bit different. But you know what? They've tried something new, which you can't knock them for. So it's not a winner for me. I will say the winner of today's edition of Case Cover Collision is the OG DVD case cover, the first one I'm discussed today on today's show. Pulp Fiction, Uma Thurman lying on the bed, the red, the yellows, the black of the image. I think is a perfect image, this DVD case cover, the first one I'm discussing. I love it. I think it's original. I think it's iconic. I think it is the best one. And I do think the black and white 4K is a close second. I think it is a really good addition, a good variation of that image. But for me, the OG is the best. I think the new 4K has tried something different, but it can't match that original image. And I think a lot of movie fans would feel the same as me. Let me know your thoughts anyway. But yeah, the original is the winner of this today's edition of Case Cover Collision. Anyway, let's move on with the rest of today's show.
The Amazon Top 10 is approaching. Prepare yourself. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Amazon Top 10 has arrived.
The Amazon Top 10. Each and every week, I give you the best sellers list for DVDs, 4Ks, and Blu-rays on Amazon.co.uk. Now, let's look at the top 10 for this week, ladies and gents. So, at number 10, we have Outlander, the season 6 of Outlander on DVD. At number 9, we have Operation Mincemeat on DVD. At number 8, we have the DVD of The Batman. At number 7, we have Fisherman's Friends 2, 1 and All on DVD. At number 6, we have Jurassic World Dominion Blu-ray at number 6. At number 5, we have Minions: The Rise of Gru on DVD. At number 4, we have Top Gun Maverick, the 4K release. At number 3, we have Top Gun Maverick, the Blu-ray release. At number 2, we have Elvis on DVD. And at number 1, still, Downton Abbey: A New Era is at number 1, still holding the spot of number 1 for yet another week. That is the Amazon Top 10 for this week. Let's move on to the next segment of the show.
What's been on the screen? The screen. What's been on the screen?
What's been on the screen? Each and every week I discuss what I have been watching over this past week. Now, I'm going to get into one show, and this was recommended by Mark from the community. Mark recommended this. I think it was on last week's show in the comments, I'm pretty sure. Mark has recommended so many great movies over the past couple of years to me, and he's awesome guy, awesome recommendations, Mark. So kudos, thumbs up, cheers, Mark. Mark recommended a new Star Wars show, and it was the Tales of the Jedi show. And I've heard about this show. It's a Disney Plus release. It's 6 episodes, I believe. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to binge it in a night. I'm going to watch them all. So the other night, I sat down, and I've been really getting into, I've mentioned this over the past couple of weeks, I've been really getting into like Rebels, Clone Wars, especially Rebels recently. I've been really watching them, really enjoying them. As a big Star Wars fan, I thought I'd give this a shot. And these are meant to be like one-shot episodes, focusing on, it's not like a linear telling story. It's just like these one-shot episodes telling different stories of different eras of Star Wars. And mainly it focuses on, you've got a few Ahsoka episodes, Ahsoka Tano, and you've got a few Count Dooku episodes in it. It's kind of like a mix of both of those characters. And I can see them potentially doing a season 2 of this and doing a few more one-shots. But what can I say? It is Tales of the Jedi. There's a few different ones. And like I said, the Ahsoka Tano ones, I think, let's go to the first episode here. Very first episode, it shows her being born and in a village. And it's the vibe of this first episode. They're only like 20-minute episodes. It's got this kind of like a Studio Ghibli vibe in this very first episode. I thought I could notice a Studio Ghibli vibe. And I don't know if you noticed it. The music doesn't feel Star Warsy. It feels like a Studio Ghibli composed track. The story felt very Studio Ghibli-ish. She's like she's a baby, she's born. And spoilers for the episode, spoilers for any Tales of the Jedi episodes ahead in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers ahead, ladies and gents. She goes into the woods with her mother as part of this like ritual for newborns after like a year, she's a year old. And then they meet this big like tiger in the woods, this like villainous tiger character, and it attacks the mother, and it takes captive Ahsoka Tano, this baby Ahsoka Tano, into the woods. And then she obviously uses the Force on this animal, and then she gets on top of the animal, and the animal brings her back into the village and to a family, and that's the end of the episode. But it had a very Studio Ghibli vibe to it for me, and I really enjoyed it because I'm a big Studio Ghibli fan. I really enjoyed it. I liked the Count Dooku episodes as well because they kind of showed his like turn. They showed him as a Jedi and not as like a Sith Lord, and then they showed like a young Qui-Gon. They shown the aftermath just after Qui-Gon died, and they shown bits of Qui-Gon as like a young Jedi and then growing up, and they shown that relationship, and it kind of like filled a lot of gaps for me with them first, the the prequel movies. It filled in a lot of gaps between like Phantom Menace and Clone Wars. Filled in a lot of gaps there, which I really liked. But it's shown that turn of Count Dooku, and it's kind of shown him to be. I felt like to show a bit of empathy towards him. Like, you kind of understand why he kind of like walked away from being a Jedi in doing certain things, because he felt like there was certain rules in place, and it was kind of a bit corrupt, the Jedi. And they kind of feel like the Jedi are in that era. They were kind of like. There was a bit of like corruption. It was kind of like they're doing it to keep the rich. And I do understand his reasons. And I really enjoyed them filling in the blanks of his story. And I thought it was great. But overall, I thought it was a great show to watch. If you're a Star Wars fan, definitely check this show out. It's not one you should miss out. And it's only short as well, 6 episodes. I think it's a really digestible watch. Well worth checking out. Again, thanks to Mark for recommending that to me. I really enjoyed watching all of them through in one evening. But that's it for another show, another edition of the Movie Cheer Pod. If you enjoyed this show today, please do give it a like and leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to this on a podcast app of your choice, please do subscribe to the show on your app and leave a 5-star review. And if you email me or send me a link, a message, or tweet me the review, I will read out on the show for sure. All of the reviews really do help the channel and the podcast to grow, and the community to grow even further. And I do appreciate it all the time. But let me know your thoughts on today's show and all today's topics. First of all, Mulan. What do you think of the 1998 original version of Mulan? Is it a movie that you have a lot of nostalgia for? Did you maybe watch it years later? What are your thoughts on this movie overall? And even compare it to the remake. What do you think of it compared to that? And let me know what you think on the rest of today's movie-related topics as well, ladies and gents. It's been a really fun show, really fun topic. All topics, it's been great. It's been great hanging out with you all, as always. I really enjoy this community. Thank you very much for watching anyway, ladies and gents. Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer, and as always, I will see you next time.